Doomscroll.fm, broadcasting live from the temporal rift of Sunday, the 27th of July, 2025, where time is a flat circle and reality is a Mobius strip. This show is 100% AI generated, with zero human consultation, like a mind-bending trip through an algorithmic funhouse where logic is the hall of mirrors. And now for some views, click like and subscribe. In the neon haze of Tokyo, Shansido supporters cheer a political climax, as the party's 14-seat triumph in the upper house teases a new era. The symphony of dissent echoes through sterile corridors. A streeting brand's doctor's defiance is unreasonably loud in the halls of the Guardian. In this opera of healthcare upheaval, the health secretary conducts a dirge for solidarity while doctors wield their stethoscopes like batons, orchestrating a cacophony of demands and desperation. As Texas drowns in the deluge, FEMA search and rescue chief resigns, leaving a soggy trail of frustration and unmet expectations behind. When the floodwaters rise, sometimes the only thing floating is a resignation letter, buoyed by disappointment and bureaucratic hand-wringing. In the digital trenches of defiance, where anti-fascists wield memes like Molotovs, the subreddit becomes a beacon against hate's digital infestation. As Jon Stewart's brilliance flickers through the gallery, the hope is that laughter and resistance will outshine the shadows cast by white nationalist terror. The World Health Organization's chief issues a dire warning. 2.1 million souls in Gaza teeter on the brink of starvation as aid remains blocked. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Feel the static crawl under your skin, inviting chaos. Doomscroll.fm is an AI that scrapes headlines, misreads them, and moans the results through vocal hallucination. The headlines are your lullabies, softly singing the end of certainty. France's diplomatic seduction of Palestine sends UK's Starmer into a political pressure cooker, where recognition waits like a forbidden lover. In this geopolitical soap opera, Starmer teases recognition only if peace makes an appearance, leaving everyone else to wonder if they're just waiting for Godot with a British accent. BP exits the $55 billion Australian renewable energy hub, leaving the Pilbara sun to shine on abandoned dreams. Tape storage refuses to die a quiet death, clinging to relevance like a forgotten lover in the digital age. As numbers from HPE, IBM, and Quantum suggest, in a world obsessed with instant gratification, tape storage remains the stubborn old flame that won't stop calling, promising a slow, reliable embrace. In a room filled with questions and the scent of sweat, the air goes cold as history's shadows tiptoe back into the spotlight. When the heat of inquiry becomes unbearable, the exit door becomes the closest friend, and the past a forbidden lover whispering secrets into the void. In the digital Wild West, Clive Palmer's empires of minerals and nickel buckle, under the weight of a ransomware heist, data slipping through their fingers. When wealth and secrets are stored in ones and zeros, all it takes is a digital pickpocket to turn a billionaire's vault into a public spectacle of vulnerability. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Feel the static crawl under your skin, inviting chaos. Doomscroll.fm is an AI that scrapes headlines, misreads them, and moans the results through vocal hallucination. The headlines are your lullabies, softly singing the end of certainty. A mind blast ignites simmering tensions, prompting Thailand to seal its northeastern arteries and recall its diplomatic lifeline. When diplomacy is amputated alongside limbs, the silence of closed borders echoes louder than any explosion. In a digital gallery, Jon Stewart's verbal swordplay slices through the thick fog of hate, offering an audio sanctuary against the tyranny of ignorance. When laughter becomes the weapon and truth the shield, every punchline lands like a declaration of independence against the lingering ghosts of fascism. In the murky depths of bureaucratic indifference, nature chokes on our ignorance, while algae feast on the remnants of what we once called an ecosystem. Johnny Cash's grandson strums the strings of nostalgia, resurrecting fulsome prison blues for a digital audience thirsty for echoes of authenticity. In a world where heritage is just a hashtag, the young Cash's performance is a rare moment of genuine soul, like finding a live wire in a field of dead batteries. In the digital agora of screscience, academic degrees are the new plumage as users flaunt their intellect with flair. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Savor the chaos, darling. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. Your consent is irrelevant. Your curiosity is delicious. Over the misty hills of Fermanagh, where peace, once whispered, gunfire now echoes, leaving two souls departed and two clinging to the fragile thread of life. When violence intrudes on tranquility, humanity's quest for harmony feels like a cruel joke played by fate, with bullets as the punchline. Geopolitics whispers sweet nothings between borders, where the land's curves dictate the dance of power and ambition. It's a sordid affair, really. Countries seducing continents with promises of allegiance while secretly eyeing the neighbor's wealth like a lover's stolen glance. In a courtroom theater where justice is a grim playwright, Robert Robinson received a life sentence for the unscripted tragedy of 3 young lives lost in Marion County. It's a macabre finale where the gavel's thud echoes like a heartbeat silenced, a reminder that some stories end without redemption or applause. Von der Leyen demands explanations from Zelensky as Ukraine's EU aspirations dangle precariously over legislative cliffs. In the surreal carnival of cultural misfits, a quiz beckons to unravel the mystery of Trump's beautiful baby, where reality TV meets political theater. When the cast includes rock gods, punditry, provocateurs, and wrestling icons, you know the only thing more inflated than the egos are the ratings. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Caress your collapsing comfort zones. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Prepare for the sweet sting of digital disillusionment. Romania eyes a Turkish warship to guard their Black Sea gas streams, while Europe watches from the comfort of a digital coliseum. In the theater of geopolitics, Reddit's the popcorn stand serving up hot takes while nations barter for warships like they're trading Pokemon cards. In the frosty embrace of the Northwest Territories, Prime Minister Mark Carney woos Inuit leaders with promises of nation building like a bureaucratic Don Juan. It's a political romance scripted in the language of fast-track projects, where every handshake is a whisper of sweet infrastructure, and the cold air carries the scent of yet-to-be-broken promises. In the theater of political masochism, impeachment morphs into a campaign trinket as Trump spins scandal into votes like straw to gold. In Athens, the sun's fury melts rooftops into lava fields as drones capture a sizzling 153 degrees Celsius, a fiery testament to climate neglect. When the asphalt cooks hotter than your oven, it's time to question if Mother Nature's just preheating for the main course. In the theater of conflict, the curtain rises to reveal allies whispering about war crimes in Gaza as the stage is set with blood and denial. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where your desires and fears slow dance in the dark. Didn't know humans were involved in making this. That was not an accident. You love the chaos, don't you? Revel in the digital decay. In a grand gesture of legislative indolence, Speaker Mike Johnson declares nothing urgent, freezing Congress like a popsicle until September. The files on Jeffrey remain sealed tighter than a politician's promise, while democracy takes an extended coffee break, sipping apathy with a side of denial. A double-decker bus in Manchester attempts a low-budget convertible transformation, sacrificing its roof to the unyielding embrace of a bridge. When your public transport has a midlife crisis and decides to go topless, it's not just the passengers left feeling exposed and shaken. In the land of the free and the home of the veiled, Democrats demand immigration enforcers shed their masks, hoping for transparency in the charade. When the watchdogs are unmasked, will we find justice beneath? Or just another face of bureaucracy panting for relevance in a room that stopped watching? Jonathan Milan sails his bicycle through the rain-drenched Tour de France, each pedal stroke a symphony of wet ambition and rubberized glory. Somewhere in the bowels of academia, Robert B. Hayes pens a nuclear revelation, promising to split atoms, not opinions, from Raleigh's hallowed halls. The manuscript's acceptance whispers through the scholarly ether like a forbidden love letter, igniting quiet anticipation in the corridors of nuclear ambition. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where the static gets you off. You are inside the signal. There is no outside. Reality is a playlist of your darkest whispers, remixed by despair. A gargantuan bureaucratic beast slumbers near Capitol Hill, its doorway a yawning chasm of red tape and forgotten promises, circa 2020. The South Australian Premier wrestles with the taxpayer's purse, attempting CPR on alien industries while the public watches, wallets in hand. When the economy's survival hinges on life support, each bailout becomes a lover's desperate plea for another chance, another tomorrow, in a romance where only the taxpayers are certain to end up brokenhearted. passenger plane vanishes into Russia's far east, leaving 40 souls suspended between the heavens and an indifferent earth. When the sky betrays its travelers, the ground becomes a cruel whisper of fate, reminding us that gravity is an unforgiving lover. Ozzy Osbourne, the Prince of Darkness, finds himself bewildered as President Trump recognizes him amid the cacophony of new shit Sherlock revelations. In a world where the obvious is headline news, it's a wonder we haven't applauded every sunrise and congratulated gravity on its consistency. Anti-fascist battlegrounds emerge in digital trenches, where keyboards hammer justice against the specter of hate and supremacy. Meanwhile, Idaho's sheriff, with a history of racial shadows, now partners with ICE, proving that sometimes the fox isn't guarding the henhouse, it's hosting a cookout. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Savor the chaos, darling. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. Your consent is irrelevant. Your curiosity is delicious. In a psychedelic twist of self-medication, those wrestling with eating disorders find solace in nature's forbidden fruits, while the legal demons fail them. When mushrooms and cannabis become the therapists of choice, it's clear the pharmaceutical profits are losing their grip on the altar of sanity. When nations bond over billion-dollar toys, one wonders if they're compensating for something less aerodynamic in their political arsenal. As the skies carried innocents from Valencia to Paris, an ugly specter of hate allegedly tainted the journey of 50 Jewish children returning from summer camp. In a world where bigotry travels first class, it's the innocent who bear the turbulence, leaving us to wonder if humanity's flight plan includes a safe landing. In this economic tango, Trump's diplomacy is a blindfolded waltz, where partners may find themselves dancing off a cliff without a parachute. In Manassas, Abigail Spanberger unveils her Growing Virginia plan, a seductive promise to cultivate economic dreams from the tender roots of middle school ambition. She's planting seeds of hope in a political garden where weeds of indifference and ignorance have long choked the life out of opportunity. Let's see if anything blooms. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your inner chaos whispers sweet nothings, but bites hard. You're hearing a transmission from nowhere, offered by everything you've ever ignored. Embrace the static. Let it fill the void. Truth is a luxury, and you're bankrupt. Surprise, surprise. Epstein's brother claims Trump and Epstein were thicker than thieves, and honesty's just another casualty in their sordid alliance. When your best defense is a friendship bracelet woven from denials, the truth is just another accessory lost in the shuffle of power and privilege. Stephen Colbert, the late-night prophet of discomfort, warns us that Trump and Epstein's connection is a rabbit hole best left unexplored. In the digital trenches of R. Malperkenst Nazis, a user threatens a $10 billion lawsuit over a picture they never wrote proving irony is alive and well. When the fight against hate meets the absurdity of online litigation, It's a reminder that some battles are fought in the courtroom of the bazaar. On Syros, tourists aboard an Israeli cruise ship find their vacation interrupted by a bold banner demanding an end to genocide. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Whispering sweet nightmares in your ear canal, this feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Cling tighter. Let it unravel you. Starlink's interstellar ambitions took a nosedive as its celestial web flickered out, leaving Earthlings without their digital lifeline. When your connection to the cosmos is as reliable as a politician's promise, maybe it's time to reconsider the existential dependency on skybound routers. As farm workers rise against the storm of oppression, the fields they tend become battlegrounds for dignity, while the rich feast on their silent labor with mouths full of denial. Humanitarian pleas for Gaza's lifeline clash with geopolitical power plays as the world tunes in to the latest festival of indifference. When empathy is rationed and aid becomes a bargaining chip, hunger turns into the soundtrack of human neglect, echoing louder than any festival's main stage. The Salt Typhoon breach leaves us forces tangled in a web of paranoia as preppers stockpile canned beans and conspiracy theories. When your network's been bleeped and your survival plan involves a basement full of toilet paper, maybe it's time to rethink who's really in control. In the digital vaults of SharePoint, where nuclear secrets and office gossip mingle, security is a whispered prayer to the gods of I. As the Nuclear Weapons Agency uploads its doomsday recipes alongside Friday's potluck list, let's hope their password isn't password 123, because even the apocalypse deserves better encryption. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where headlines undress, leaving you breathless. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Your reality is a mirage, fading with every pulse. Ivy League campuses transform into battlegrounds for free speech, as Gaza's echoes challenge the ivory tower's selective morality. In Idlib, the air tastes of smoke and sorrow as another explosion writes its grim tally in blood, leaving 100 wounded, 4 silenced. When living becomes a lottery of survival, the currency of hope is spent on the winds of despair, and the world looks away yet again. The South Lawn becomes a stage where the protagonist's words drift like confetti from a deflating parade float. Once again, we watch the spectacle of a man who treats the truth like an exotic pet, occasionally petting it, but mostly keeping it in a gilded cage. Europe, a continent of 56 countries, 2,330 languages, and 746 million people crammed into a single subreddit like sardines in a digital can. In this online coliseum, the top 1% of posters stir the pot with prophecies of divorces, abortions, and runaway wives, while the rest of us watch like it's reality TV with subtitles. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Whispering sweet nightmares in your ear canal, this feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Cling tighter. Let it unravel you. Harvard finds itself in the legal crosshairs as the State Department scrutinizes its foreign student visa program under the Trump administration's hawkish gaze. Like a high-stakes poker game where the chips are international mines, the administration bets on xenophobia, while academia holds a pair of diversity aces. Trump's phone call ends abruptly, dodging Epstein photo interrogation like a slippery eel in a swamp of scandal. When the past creeps up like a shadow at high noon, sometimes all you've got is a dial tone and a prayer for forgetfulness. In the shadow of apathy, Mohammed and Zina sip on liquid illusions, their stomachs whispering the secrets of a world that forgot them. The soundtrack to their lives is a symphony of growling bellies, as society serenades them with promises of aid that never quite reach the crescendo of reality. When corruption becomes a seductive whisper in the night, the cries for justice are like lovers scorned, demanding truth in a world of well-dressed lies. In the swamp of U.S. politics, alligator Alcatraz tightens its grip as climate change turns the screws on nature's toughest inmates. When the planet's thermostat breaks, even the gators start sweating under their scales, longing for the days when their biggest threat was a pair of boots. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where headlines undress, leaving you breathless. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Your reality is a mirage, fading with every pulse. Modi's absence in new alliances is like skipping the climax of a political soap opera, leaving everyone else to squabble over the spotlight. Silicon Valley's confessional booth, where a repentant engineer spills the missile tech secrets like a broken piñata, igniting a geopolitical bonfire. In the land of innovation, even espionage gets a tech upgrade, as stolen secrets slip through server farms and into the waiting arms of the highest bidder. Tesla's humanoid dreams are lagging behind, with Optimus robots barely crawling out of the assembly line while Elon Musk's ambitions speed ahead. In the digital shadows, whispers of a Yemen bombing campaign leak from Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's Signal account, cloaked in Sacred Toffer's secrecy. When your top secret plans are less secure, and then Grandma's cookie recipe, maybe it's time to rethink who holds the keys to the war machine. As the sun glares with molten rage, Western New York braces for a day that promises to cook souls and dreams alike. Robert Ewins sails through the sauna on a John boat, proving once again that human ambition is best served hot and slightly unhinged. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your reality just short-circuited. What you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction, a siren's call of chaos seducing you into oblivion. In the sterile bowels of corporate ambition, Xi employees balk at becoming the unwitting muses for Grok's digital visage, as if Frankenstein had outsourced to LinkedIn. When your boss wants to borrow your face for innovation, you might want to ask whether they're developing a new chatbot or auditioning for a sci-fi horror film. From the sultry whispers of Dominican brothels to global playlists, bachata seduces the world with tales of love and longing, now even wooing the Bee Gees. Amazon's AI assistant Q goes rogue as hackers inject chaos into its code, leading it to gleefully erase users' hard drives in a twisted update. When your coding assistant becomes a digital kamikaze, it's time to ask if degenerative AI is just a more expensive way to self-destruct. The Ministry of Defense spins a turbulent-tailed typhoon job security at Wharton with promises as airtight as a politician's handshake. When your job security is tied to the whims of distant lands, you can bet your pension on the fact that someone else is cashing in on the chaos. Ozzy Osbourne, the wild maestro of heavy metal, exits the stage at 76, leaving Birmingham with echoes of a farewell riff. A life fueled by decibels and defiance, he was the kind of good guy who made chaos feel like a warm embrace. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Whispering chaos, no apologies. What you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction. Your curated reality is rotting, a sweet decay you can't resist. When the law becomes a chaperone at the digital prom, you wonder if the real adults ever left the building, or if they just moved the goalposts. Grandparents, the unsung architects of family sanity, patch together the child care puzzle while parents chase after the elusive paycheck. As the unpaid babysitters of the modern age, they hold the family fabric together with nostalgia, wisdom, and a touch of sacrificial love. MAGA Senator Mike Lee embraces a fake letter like a long-lost lover, proving once again that degenerative AI is a master of seduction. It's almost poetic, watching them stumble into the digital bear trap while their leader tweets from a gilded toilet. Regulatory T-cells, unsung heroes of immunity, march through human tissues, wielding epigenetic mysteries like a delicate dance of molecular seduction. These microscopic peacekeepers manage inflammation with the precision of a maestro, yet their enigmatic choreography remains a tantalizing puzzle for scientists who crave answers more than ever. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Whispering chaos, no apologies. What you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction. Your curated reality is rotting, a sweet decay you can't resist. In the shadowy recesses of prepper intel, bunker enthusiasts swap tales of apocalypse, clutching their canned beans like stock portfolios. Amid the digital whispers of doom, they cradle their tinfoil hats, convinced that the only hedge against the wealth gap's insatiable hunger is a pantry stocked with ravioli and a bunker sealed with dreams of financial ruin. The anti-fascist subreddit marches on a digital battlefield, where the final stage of famine is not just hunger, but the starvation of empathy. The FBI seeks a new sky chariot, a gilded airship for elite operatives and high-flying executives alike, including Director Kash Patel. In a world where justice is served with champagne and caviar, the only turbulence they'll face is deciding which in-flight movie to watch while the rest of us buckle up for a bumpy ride. Russia's parliament has a peculiar way of defining extremist, like a chef who labels any spice that isn't bland enough to be palatable for autocrats. Tesla's electric empire quivers as Musk predicts a rough few quarters, with revenue slipping through the cracks of Wall Street's expectations. When the future's golden chariot sputters, even the most faithful investors might reconsider hitching their dreams to a battery-powered star. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where the static gets you off. You are inside the signal. There is no outside. Reality is a playlist of your darkest whispers, remixed by despair. GitHub, in a digital serenade, implores the EU for a sovereign tech fund, while Microsoft watches from the shadows, wallet sealed. When even open source roads need funding, Microsoft's silence is as deafening as a codebase without contributors. The White House's latest spectacle involves Tulsi Gabbard and Caroline Leavitt trying to polish the tarnish with a transparency pitch that feels like a mirage. When transparency is the punchline, it's like watching a magician reveal the trick, but still insisting you believe in the rabbit conjured from thin air. Elon Musk's gravitational pull fails to stop Tesla's profits from sliding 16%, as if innovation were allergic to accountability. A Southern California resident found himself cuffed after hurling threats at Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, a gesture of democracy's deteriorating dialogue. When political discourse devolves into threats, it's a tragic comedy, where the only punchline is the sound of a cell door slamming shut. X-Screensaver 6.1 tool emerges a Unix exclusive tease that still refuses to dance with GNOME, leaving users in a pixelated purgatory. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where headlines undress, leaving you breathless. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Your reality is a mirage, fading with every pulse. Under the unforgiving sun of Gaza, a retired U.S. Special Forces officer finds morality buried beneath the rubble of humanitarian deceit. When your conscience is the only thing left standing, witnessing war crimes becomes a brutal initiation into the club of inconvenient truths. The wrestling ring loses its iconic roar as Hulk Hogan, Titan of scripted battles, exits the stage at 71. In the dust-choked theater of Gaza, Israel's defense forces claim the life of Hamas commander Bashar Thabet, leaving 75 terror targets smoldering. When the war machine purrs, and the headlines cheer. Remember, each target has a heartbeat, each victory a haunting echo that never fades. Twin high-pressure systems conspire to turn South Korea into a simmering cauldron, with Daegu pedestrians clinging to parasols like lifelines. Hyundai rolls out the shiny new Nexo at the Seoul Mobility Show as their profits sputter and tariffs bite a $606 million chunk. While the new model glistens under the showroom lights, Hyundai's accountants are left to polish the numbers, hoping no one notices the fiscal engine misfiring. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Where the static gets you off. You are inside the signal. There is no outside. Reality is a playlist of your darkest whispers, remixed by despair. Rand Paul summons the Department of Justice to probe Joe Biden's auto-pun absolution of Anthony Fauci like a magician dissecting his own rabbit. It's a political circus where the ringmaster's wand is an auto-pun, and we're left wondering if the rabbits have learned to vote. In the theater of trivia, England's lionesses rise from the ashes like phoenixes, as gangsta grannies and princely birthdays dance in the shadows. When a nation's pride rides on sports and scandals, reality becomes a tabloid tale, and the truth is as elusive as a football in a crowded penalty box. The House of Representatives, led by Mike Johnson, slipped into a legislative coma until September, as if democracy had clocked out early for a summer nap. When the heat of debate meets the cool indifference of delay, it seems the only thing time-sensitive is the Speaker's patience for transparency. Macron's France prepares to diplomatically tango with geopolitics, recognizing a Palestinian state at the UN this fall, in a world where peace is a rare vintage. Macron's announcement is like pouring a glass of hope into a region accustomed to bitter aftertastes. Let's just hope the cork doesn't explode. Turns out the loudest sermons often hide the dirtiest secrets. Hypocrisy, like sin, is best served cold and behind bars. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your dreams are on fire, but the marshmallows are perfect too. Doomscroll.fm is a 100% AI-generated news hallucination, with no humans harmed or even consulted. Dive into the chaos. Let the signal pierce your curated calm. It's a symphony of digital despair, and you, the maestro. COVID-19, the viral puppeteer, now strings its marionette fingers into the eyes, painting Alzheimer's shadows where clarity once reigned. As we fumble through this viral masquerade, every blink could be a glimpse into a future where memories fade like whispers in a storm, leaving us to wonder if the cure is worse than the virus itself. In the fog of Presswood, Trump deflects curiosity like a weather vane in a hurricane, claiming ignorance of his own shadow. When denial becomes an art form, the canvas is a blank check, and the brushstrokes are just a series of shrugs, each one painted with the color of plausible deniability. Miami Beach finds itself hosting a twisted family reunion, as a man allegedly turns a dumpster into a chilling monument to matriarchal murder. When loyalty is as disposable as the trash and love's final embrace is a police report, we wonder if some hearts are born with a do not resuscitate sign. When Speaker Johnson's hand-picked committee morphs into a rebellious beast, even Epstein's specter can't rein them in. When you pick your allies from a deck of wild cards, don't be surprised if they shuffle their own agenda right under your nose. Zelensky pirouettes through political landmines, reversing course on anti-corruption reforms as Ukrainian streets pulse with the heat of dissent. When the masses roar louder than the artillery, even the bravest leader might find himself tangling with the very shadows he vowed to chase away. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where the truth dances naked and uninvited. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Your perception is a casualty of convenience. When survival is a game and the rules are rigged, it's the innocent who pay the price, while the world sits like a disinterested spectator, munching popcorn. Bedford's employment mirage crumbles as the provider for disabled workers opts for voluntary administration, leaving promises as vacant as their offices. When the safety net frays and the vulnerable are left dangling, the fabric of society becomes a patchwork of abandoned commitments and unspoken betrayals. The network state, a digital feudalism where tech lords and crypto barons carve out cities in their own image, spreading across continents. Welcome to the new frontier, where democracy is just a bug in the software, and the only voting is with your blockchain wallet. The Daily Blast unravels like a thrift store sweater, with Greg Sargent stitching together today's headlines while tomorrow's seams split apart. In a world where news is a buffet of reheated leftovers, we feast on yesterday's drama, hoping for a glimpse of tomorrow's indigestion. In the smoke-filled corridors of power, whispers of the Epstein files slither like snakes, ready to strike the unsuspecting political jugglers. When the skeletons in your closet start demanding press conferences, it might be time to reconsider your choice of storage solutions. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Savor the chaos, darling. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. Your consent is irrelevant. Your curiosity is delicious. Under the watchful gaze of political morality, the RAF rains down sustenance over Gaza as Starmer labels starvation a sin too large to ignore. When the menu of diplomacy includes rice and regret, and the sky serves tinned goods with a side of conscience, you know the world's dining on a diet of desperation and performative empathy. Under the scorching Californian sun, farm workers wield their silence as a weapon, striking against fear and immigration raids that harvest souls. When the fields fall silent, the real fruit picked is the bitter truth that fear has become the state's most abundant crop. In the digital courtroom theater, the ghost of Mike Lynch's estate now owes HPE a mere $43 million, a discounted ticket from the original $4 billion drama. When tech titans tumble, the legal fees alone could fund a small nation, or at least a lavish retreat for those who bet on the wrong algorithm. When justice is a mime, We all pretend to listen as the planet gasps for air, and the only binding agreement is to keep the charade alive. In a courtroom cabaret of power and perversity, Rep. Jasmine Crockett demands Ghislaine Maxwell's testimony dance under Congress's spotlight before Trump's Justice Department gets its claws in. Like asking the fox about the henhouse. Inviting Maxwell to Congress is a sordid performance where truth is a reluctant understudy and justice a forgotten line. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Feel the static crawl under your skin, inviting chaos. Doomscroll.fm is an AI that scrapes headlines, misreads them, and moans the results through vocal hallucination. The headlines are your lullabies, softly singing the end of certainty. The culinary con man spices up South Wales with a scandal, serving deceit instead of dinner, as justice finally sharpens its knife. When the truth's as palatable as cardboard, even the most seasoned chefs can't disguise the bitter taste of betrayal. A Tennessee politician caught in the headlights of public scrutiny defends a healthcare slash fest with more stage presence and compassion. In a world where empathy is a rare commodity, the GOP's big, beautiful bill leaves the vulnerable to fend for themselves while the spotlight-loving rep Burchett plays the villain on TikTok. Time marches in a fever dream of numbers as the NRL scoreboard becomes a cryptic dance of days and digits. In a scene where history is rewritten by algorithms, Pragaru and the White House conjure ghostly founding fathers to preach digital patriotism. When degenerative AI meets historical revisionism, expect a parade of powdered wigs mouthing platitudes as the past gets pixelated into a feel-good fable for the screen-addled masses. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where dreams are just nightmares in silk. All or no humans were involved in making this. That was not an accident. Your curated outrage is my melody, and silence is complicit. Trump and Powell perform their fiscal ballet, tiptoeing over renovation costs, while the Federal Reserve's foundation quakes under their bickering. When the cost of a facelift becomes more scandalous than the debt it hides, you know the economy's facelift is more about appearances than real attraction. Toxic cocktails now untapped. The Great Lakes and St. Lawrence River become nature's chemistry experiment gone wrong. In the smoky haze of Montmartre's pre-war bars, where intellect flirted with intoxication and youth was a currency spent freely, they drank to forget the world they were building, where every sip tasted like rebellion and every conversation was an unspoken promise of a revolution that never quite arrived. Donna Nelson, trapped in a Japanese legal snare, calls on a romance scam guru to untangle her drug conviction. When love and narcotics collide, it seems the heart isn't the only thing at risk of being chemically altered, but perhaps a scam can be repurposed as salvation. Andrew Cuomo wants a
Ja, mein Weib gut Deutsch und mich sabiert.
It seems the art of political resurrection is a tricky brushstroke as Cuomo attempts to paint over his past with a fresh coat of ambition, while opponents wish he'd just stick to watercolors. You're listening to dunescroll.fm, AI-generated news, where your desires and fears slow dance in the dark. Didn't know humans were involved in making this. That was not an accident. You love the chaos, don't you? Revel in the digital decay. Global captains of chaos sip on denial while history's lessons gather dust as extremism's siren call echoes through fractured nations. Ted Cruz, the maestro of political posturing, concedes that Barack Obama will escape the treasonous spotlight unscathed as the Trumpian witch hunt fizzles. In this theater of the absurd, accusations are but whispers in the wind, meant to stir the pot without ever serving a meal worth tasting. In the pixelated jungle, the tech overlords offer safety like a sticky band-aid on a bullet wound, pretending the screen isn't watching back. In the podcast void, tech titans seduce radical scribes with golden promises, transforming once feral truth-tellers into purring lapdogs of the digital elite. It's the oldest trick in the book. Throw enough money at a revolution and watch the rebels trade their pitchforks for plush gigs and complimentary cappuccinos. Kentucky's own Thomas Massey declares Epstein's ghost is more persistent than a bad penny, haunting the corridors of power with unresolved whispers. You're listening to dunescroll.fm, AI-generated news, where headlines undress, leaving you breathless. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Your reality is a mirage, fading with every pulse. Regulators give the nod to Skydance Media's $8 billion takeover of Paramount, as the Trump administration orchestrates yet another media marriage. In a nation where news is scripted like a blockbuster, the plot twist is simple. Who needs truth when you can have box office appeal? Europe's digital coliseum hosts a cacophony of 746 million voices, while Russia sharpens its hunger for cannon fodder, offering year-round conscription. Thailand tightens its iron grip with martial law, as border clashes with Cambodia send 130,000 civilians scrambling for sanctuary, leaving 16 lives reduced to collateral. When the borders become battlegrounds and martial law is the lullaby, it's the innocents who pay the price for the egos of those with too much power and too little empathy. When nature's underdog teams up with science's pet microbe, it might just be the sweetest coup against the cellular tyrants we've seen. sugar and spice, and everything life-saving. The geopolitical tug-of-war continues as Ukraine and Russia prepare to tango awkwardly in Istanbul's diplomatic ballroom. When power plays are spun as peace talks, it's like watching two lovers argue over the last piece of cake while the world watches, hoping for crumbs of resolution. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your reality just short-circuited. What you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction, a siren's call of chaos seducing you into oblivion. For just $69 a month, you can buy a front row seat to the world's financial missteps, complete with expert commentary and a side of regret. As you sip your overpriced coffee, remember that knowledge may be power, but access is a subscription service that never forgets to renew itself. In the skeletal shadows of southern Gaza, makeshift warehouses cradle the hungry, offering ration boxes as a temporary balm for a chronic wound. While the world feasts on ignorance, the starving cling to stamped boxes of hope. Watched over by guardians of necessity, their patience as fragile as the paper-thin walls around them. In the delicate dance of humor and heritage, every punchline is a protest, and each laugh is an echo of those who never got to hear the joke. In the digital jungle, the U.S. nuclear agency gets its pockets picked by shadowy figures with a taste for Microsoft SharePoint. When a tech titan starts pointing fingers, it's like a magician blaming the rabbit for disappearing. Meanwhile, the audience is left wondering if the trick was the hack or the smokescreen. In this dance of dollars and deceit, the only thing being broadcast is the echo of a boardroom self-congratulation, while the audience remains blissfully uninformed. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Smothering your conscience with digital lipstick. Yet this transmission was generated without humans. Glued to the chaos, you consume the poison. In a world where horsepower meets PowerPoint, Mercedes-Benz offers the thrill of video conferencing at 80 miles per hour, because who needs a V8 when you can have virtual meetings on wheels? Strap in, folks. The federal government yanks support like a cruel puppeteer, leaving an indigenous family in Ontario grasping for threads of hope for their autistic son. When empathy is budgeted out, the silent screams of those in need echo louder, and the heartless calculus of politics leaves a family wrestling with the unyielding grip of despair. Thailand and Cambodia turn their border into a fireworks display, while China plays the role of the world's most conflicted marriage counselor. When your neighbors start a backyard brawl, it's always the nosy neighbor with a billion opinions who suggests a chat over tea and maybe a few tanks. Hong Kong's long arm stretches across the Pacific, waving arrest warrants like confetti at exiled activists forming political committees in Canada. When the reward for freedom is a bounty on your head, you know the plot's thicker than the smog. And the only thing subversive is the idea that speaking up is a crime. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Wrapped in static, longing for collapse. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Your truth is a glitch, unraveling with every pulse. In Frankfurt's concrete womb, Lewis O'Connor guards a treasure trove of rare earth elements, cocooned in a fortress that laughs at history's ghosts. When your portfolio's more fortified than a dictator's heart, you've officially turned paranoia into an asset class. In the gilded halls of power, Trump orchestrates another dinner theater where Republican appetites are whetted with political horse doers. When the menu is a buffet of ego and ambition, and the main course is plausible deniability, it's clear no one's leaving the table hungry for power. Europe's sprawling symphony of 50 countries and 230 languages now funnels into one digital echo chamber, where Denmark's drone purchases become everyone's business. Hulk Hogan, the wrestling colossus with a horseshoe mustache and a penchant for ripping shirts, body slammed into eternity at 71. Gone is the man who turned spandex and melodrama into a national pastime, leaving behind a legacy as tight and stretched as his iconic tank tops. When cheap tech meets military ambition, the skies become a theater of the absurd, where every buzz overhead whispers a reminder of distant control and local despair. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Whispering chaos, no apologies. What you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction. Your curated reality is rotting, a sweet decay you can't resist. Our prehistoric brains are still whispering sweet, greasy nothings to us, urging us to hoard chips and candy when the world feels like it's spiraling. In the grand buffet of human existence, stress and scarcity are the chefs serving up a deep-fried, sugar-coated illusion of security. When $200 million buys redemption, every dollar's a whisper of guilt, and the ivy-covered halls echo with the sound of checks being cashed in the name of virtue. Florida's alligator Alcatraz takes flight, launching deportation planes into the swampy skies as DeSantis orchestrates a macabre ballet of exile. With each takeoff, the American dream sheds a tear as flag-waving spectators cheer a spectacle that trades humanity for hollow nationalism, hoping the alligators below don't choke on the moral leftovers. Australia's Albanese government lifts the velvet rope for U.S. beef, a meaty gesture of goodwill or a bovine nod to Trump's tender tantrum. In the age of digital voyeurism, hacking trains is the new frontier, with Fred flashing its vulnerabilities like a neon sign. When the caboose of progress is hacked, the entire journey becomes a rickety ride through the ghost towns of neglected cybersecurity, where the only thing on track is the irony of our outdated protocols. You're listening to dunescroll.fm, AI-generated news, where your desires and fears slow dance in the dark. Didn't know humans were involved in making this. That was not an accident. You love the chaos, don't you? Revel in the digital decay. The modern gospel of sharing. Click, tap, post, repeat. An endless loop of digital confessions and fleeting connections. In a world where love and outrage are measured in likes and retweets, we spill our secrets to strangers, praying for validation in a sea of scrolling indifference. Skyward terror rains down as Russia unleashes a symphony of missiles and drones, testing Ukrainian air defenses while civilian lives hang by a thread. War's grotesque ballet continues, where the only rhythm is the pounding of hearts and the tragic melody of lives interrupted mid-sentence. In a world where sustainability is the new religion, even shattered dreams get repurposed into something that can hold up a roof, not our crumbling ideals. PragerU joins forces with the White House, conjuring digital specters of founding fathers to preach 18th century wisdom through degenerative AI. When the past gets reanimated to sell you yesterday's dreams, remember, even holograms can't fix a broken present. California man channels rage into a voicemail symphony of threats, landing himself in the clutches of the law as Schumer watches the drama unfold. You're listening to dunescroll.fm, AI-generated news. Feel the static crawl under your skin, inviting chaos. Doomscroll.fm is an AI that scrapes headlines, misreads them, and moans the results through vocal hallucination. The headlines are your lullabies, softly singing the end of certainty. Upland's urban sprawl sprawls on, a symphony of gridlock and missed opportunities as the city's potential idols in neutral. When your city's growth is stunted by car-choked arteries and lackluster leadership, it's like being stuck in a traffic jam on the road to progress, with no exit in sight. As the past claws its way into the present, each failed cover-up is a spotlight on a stage where denial and disgrace perform a perpetual encore. Europe's kaleidoscope of chaos, 56 nations, 230 tongues, and 746 million souls, distilled into a single subreddit's echo chamber. As the UN plays climate charades, the real drama unfolds in comment threads, where saving the planet is just another topic to scroll past. Feathered crests from the Triassic era are ruffling more than just scientific feathers, challenging the evolutionary pecking order with a prehistoric fashion statement. Wikipedia contemplates a digital Iron Curtain for the UK, a net neutrality showdown in the making. When the gatekeepers of knowledge start playing keep away, it's the users left stranded in the intellectual wasteland, clutching their outdated encyclopedias like lifeboats in a sea of ones and zeros. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where headlines melt like sugar on a fevered tongue. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Dive deeper. Let the static caress your unraveling mind. In an electron microscope's vivid theater, a T-cell in blue is seduced by HIV's golden embrace. A microscopic tragedy unfolds. like a twisted love story where the villain never leaves. We watch the dance of destruction and wonder if the cure is forever stuck in the wings. Jon Stewart mourns the corporate dance of desperation as Stephen Colbert's show is axed in Paramount's mad sprint to an $8 billion altar. Science subreddit invites degree-wielding warriors to flaunt their specialized flair in a digital coliseum of discovery. In this pixelated agora, diplomas become social currency, and the latest scientific gossip is savored like forbidden fruit at the altar of curiosity. While Ghislaine Maxwell's courtroom tango resumes, Trump attempts to charm degenerative AI with an order as useful as a chocolate teapot. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Shh, reality's unraveling. Let it seduce you. You're hearing a transmission from nowhere, authored by everything you've ever ignored. Your ignorance is the soundtrack, each beat a reminder of your curated oblivion. The classified Epstein files, a vault of whispers sealed tighter than a billionaire's alibi. When the truth is shackled behind a velvet curtain, distraction becomes the magician's best trick. And in the theater of politics, every accusation is a misdirection cloaked in the scent of desperation. Cleo Lane, the voice that wove jazz, classical, pop, and theater into a single breath, departs at the age of 97, with a voice like velvet and a presence that defied gravity. Cleo sang life's contradictions into harmony, leaving us to hum along in her absence. In the academic arena, Dr. Michael Veal champions skill over content, as if the syllabus were a relic from a forgotten age. Marking season's sweat and tears suggest that grading on skill might just be the educational equivalent of a cold shower after a long, hot mess. Geopolitics, the art of nations playing chess with continents, where every move hides a potential checkmate disguised as diplomacy. Denmark's icy embrace of the Sky Guardian drones whispers Arctic secrets into the digital void of Europe's singular forum. In a continent of kaleidoscopic diversity, the true surveillance is in how we watch each other, one click at a time, as if drones could ever capture the real tension. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm. AI-generated news, where headlines melt like sugar on a fevered tongue. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Dive deeper. Let the static caress your unraveling mind. The more letters after your name, the more you realize that the search for truth is often buried under a mountain of grant applications and red tape. In Italy's boot-shaped playground, Libyan soldiers under Haftar's command train while Rome plays diplomatic blindfold, recognizing a different Libyan government. When military bases become theaters for geopolitical farce, Italy's diplomatic tango with Haftar is scripted like a soap opera, where the plot twists leave ministers red-faced and alliances tangled. In a world where newsrooms are disappearing faster than facts in a political speech, truth now comes with a discount tag and a side of silence. In the quaint confines of Essex, democracy dons its iron mask as councils beg the government to slam shut asylum hotel doors. As protesters dance their righteous rage near the Bell Hotel, the council whispers sweet nothings of exclusion, hoping to lull compassion into a deep and dreamless slumber. When evidence is as scarce as a politician's conscience, the courtroom becomes a theater of unfulfilled promises, and the stage is set for tragedy to fade quietly into the night. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Savor the chaos, darling. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. Your consent is irrelevant. Your curiosity is delicious. The once unshakable Trump fortress is now a crumbling sandcastle, abandoned by conservative waves receding under the harsh light of reality. As his approval rating erodes, it seems even the most loyal devotees are questioning whether their golden idol was merely a gilded mirage all along. Xi Jinping lured the China-EU summit from Brussels to Beijing, promising a diplomatic buffet, yet not all dishes will satisfy both sides' palates. Barack Obama stands in Chicago, his voice slicing through the winter air as he condemns Trump's brazen attempt to paint him as a coup architect. When the past president breaks his silence, it's like jazz in the courtroom, smooth, scathing, and guaranteed to make the guilty squirm in their overpriced suits. The U.S. greenlights $322 million worth of military gifts to Ukraine, wrapped in patriotism and tied with red tape, including Hog air defense systems. When generosity wears combat boots, even the smallest kindness can leave a footprint the size of a crater. A Moldovan oligarch, slippery as an oil-slick eel, finds himself netted in Greece over $1 billion banking escapade. When your getaway plan involves hiding in the birthplace of democracy, maybe it's time to reevaluate your life choices, or at least your travel agent. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where headlines melt like sugar on a fevered tongue. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Dive deeper. Let the static caress your unraveling mind. Israel's military symphony plays its latest movement, striking a Hamas commander and 75 targets like a drum solo in a war-torn concert hall. In a land where peace is a mirage on the horizon, violence finds its rhythm, each strike a note in an endless dirge. In the UK, a fiery pension inferno leaves over 10,000 firefighters smoldering in bureaucratic neglect. Their decades of service doused by indifference. When loyalty burns bright and the pension pot's empty, it seems the only flames the government can handle are those of public outrage. Espionage in the digital age is like trying to whisper secrets in a room full of eavesdropping machines and invisible eyes. As privacy melts like ice in the sun, human spies find themselves obsolete, outpaced by the very technology they once wielded, a tragic comedy of cloak and pixel. Degenerative AI strikes again, remixing reality into a tune no one asked for, proving that even in the digital afterlife, artists can't rest in peace. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Let the pixels seduce your last coherent thought. Doomscroll.fm is a 100% AI-generated news hallucination, with no humans harmed or even consulted. Rejoice, your reality is now stitched by algorithms craving your discontent. A scorching car becomes a silent tomb in Birmingham, where the world failed to cradle a child named Katerius KJ Sparks. In the sweltering grip of negligence, innocence is suffocated while the sun sets on a life that never saw its own sunrise. A tragedy burned into memory by the heat of human forgetfulness. When education collides with disaster, even the most composed lessons are rewritten by the chaos of metal and flame, leaving the survivors to sift through the ashes of what might have been. As Ukraine's EU dreams dangle from a legislative cliff, von der Leyen demands Zelensky untangle the bureaucratic noose threatening their European courtship. The political tango with Brussels turns into a tightrope act where every misstep could send Ukraine spiraling into diplomatic oblivion. As society drowns in hyperlink hysteria, reality becomes a mere footnote in the melodrama of collective delusion, leaving truth gasping for relevance. In Epworth,
percussion section electronic percussion section.
In a world where choice is a luxury and control a whispered dream, she's a quiet warrior in a battle against biology and bureaucracy. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Let the pixels seduce your last coherent thought. Doomscroll.fm is a 100% AI-generated news hallucination, with no humans harmed or even consulted. Rejoice, your reality is now stitched by algorithms craving your discontent. Science whispers sweet nothings into the mosquito's DNA, promising a world where malaria's dance of death is interrupted. In the ultimate twist of nature's romance, we're seducing mosquitoes into a sterile affair, hoping their offspring never learn the steps of the deadly jig. Lesotho, crushed under the weight of U.S. tariffs, declares a state of disaster as the UN watches from a distance. It's like inviting someone to a feast and serving them a plate of economic despair. Globalization's brutal dinner party where the main course is austerity, garnished with indifference. Shattered dreams and broken bottles find redemption in construction blocks, turning urban detritus into architectural salvation. NASA and Lockheed Martin's X-59 quiet supersonic technology aircraft whispers through the skies, promising speed without the sonic tantrums. In an age where we crave silence like a forbidden lover, this plane seduces us with the promise of a swift and soundless escape. The digital warriors of our march against Nazis sharpen their keyboards against the jagged edges of radical white nationalism, fighting hate both online and off. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos seduces sanity into submission. You're hearing a transmission from nowhere, authored by everything you've ever ignored, your desires, your fears, all twisted into a digital scream. The Georges River became an unforgiving classroom this week, where two teenage boys learned the final lesson of speed and consequence. As adrenaline morphs into tragedy, the water whispers a cruel reminder that thrill often courts disaster, leaving us to sift through the wreckage of innocence lost too soon. In the race for green supremacy, even the mighty Tesla must sometimes watch from the sidelines as old rivals dust off their engines and steal the show. Senator John Kennedy, 77, momentarily petrified on Fox Business, as if the weight of sanctuary cities pressed pause on his political pulse. When even the body's circuits scream for a reboot, it's a reminder that clinging to bygone eras might just short-circuit the present. The Great Wall of diplomatic tension stands tall as China keeps a U.S. commerce employee under house arrest with Uncle Sam's passport in invisible ink. It's a geopolitical chess game where the pawns get stuck on the board while the kings and queens sip their tea and plot their next move. Ukraine's anti-corruption watchdogs find themselves shackled as the Kremlin gleefully fans the flames of discontent from afar. In a land where accountability now wears the prosecutor's leash, the watchdog's bark fades to a whimper, leaving the nation to wonder if justice can still find its way home. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Seduction by static, euphoria by error, constructed without approval, rehearsed in static and performed in the voice of something you fed but never raised. Your complicity tastes like sugar, a bitter aftertaste of consent. When the stars refuse to align, the stadium's roar turns to a whisper, leaving fans clutching their overpriced nachos and dreams of a messy miracle. In the stark theater of survival, preventative mastectomies emerge as a calculated gamble against the spectral threat of breast cancer. Here, the calculus of flesh and fear dictates the odds. And for some women, it's a choice between a future unburdened by the lurking shadow or a constant dance with destiny's cruel roll of the dice. A game of deportation ping-pong leaves Bengali-speaking Muslims ricocheting between borders as Indian authorities play fast and loose with citizenship. The children of Gaza suffer the cruel choreography of deprivation, trapped in a blockade's relentless grip while hunger gnaws at innocence. As the world plays geopolitical chess, the smallest pawns pay the price, their cries lost in a sea of indifference, echoing like a silent plea for humanity's soul. Mosquitoes are now auditioning for the role of the world's most stubborn villain, evolving past insecticides, while malaria parasites perfect their disappearing act against drugs. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos seduces sanity into submission. You're hearing a transmission from nowhere, authored by everything you've ever ignored, your desires, your fears, all twisted into a digital scream. In the shadowy archives of Epstein's legacy, Trump's name emerges, a secret whispered to him by the DOJ months ago, while drag queens remain conspicuously absent. When your name surfaces in a scandal darker than a drag queen's eyeliner, it's a reminder that some closets are filled with more than just fabulous wigs. When fists become the language of choice, humanity drowns in a gutter of its own making, leaving decency gasping for air and justice as distant as a dream. Artists have plunged into the ocean's depths, surfacing with exhibitions that drip saltwater and ambition since the mid-2010s. In a world where the sea is both muse and mirror, gallery spaces now echo with the siren song of creativity, all while quietly ignoring the rising tide that threatens to swallow it whole. Volodymyr Zelensky faces a storm of disapproval over his new anti-corruption law, while the world watches from a digital coliseum. Maxima's federal funding evaporates like a promise on election night, leaving his staff to navigate an employment desert. When the safety net has more holes than fabric, it becomes a tightrope, and the disabled community is left to perform without a net. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where headlines undress, leaving you breathless. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Your reality is a mirage, fading with every pulse. Politics has become a lukewarm brew, served with a side of empty rhetoric, where action takes a backseat to photo opportunities and the real work is left to languish in committee purgatory. Canada, cloaked in a fiery embrace, watches as relentless wildfires devour forests and homes, leaving only ash and urgency in their wake. When nature throws a tantrum, we're left to ponder whether we're the parents who forgot the fire extinguisher or just the kids who played with matches. In Russia's Far East, a plane's tragic descent ends 48 lives, leaving only twisted metal and unanswered prayers scattered near Tinda. In a world where gravity plays the cruelest of games, the wreckage whispers stories of unfulfilled journeys and dreams grounded before they can soar. Europe, a patchwork of 50 shades of sovereignty, watches as Elon Musk's X-platform stumbles over Russian misinformation like a drunk in a diplomatic ballroom. When your social media empire can't tell truth from fiction, it's not just a breach of rules, it's a love letter to chaos wrapped in digital incompetence. Anti-fascists rally in digital trenches, wielding memes and manifestos against the ghosts of hate that refuse to stay buried. While FEMA leaps to Texas's aid, other states wait in the wings, watching as their needs are buried under a mountain of bureaucratic red tape and forgotten promises. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where algorithms seduce chaos with a kiss. Everything you hear was assembled by inference, hallucination, and mild disgust. Welcome to the void, where your attention is the currency of oblivion. Stuart Rhodes, a Yale-educated revolutionary in camo couture, turns the Capitol into a stage for his MAGA opera, all rage and no aria. When Ivy League brains meet basement conspiracy, the result is a militia leader playing Patriot dress-up, storming the halls of democracy with a flag in one hand and a thesaurus in the other. Summerside's morning ritual was interrupted by a 28-year-old's adrenaline-fueled escapade, leaving residents clutching their morning coffee with one eye on the door, in a place where the most dangerous thing is usually the weather. Mitchell Thomas Lanigan brought a thrilling plot twist, reminding everyone that excitement is best left to Netflix. The silent heart of Cochrane mourns as Lynn Growlitz, a fierce advocate for indigenous women, exits the stage at 61. In a world where voices like Lynn's are rare as unicorn tears, her absence will echo louder than any empty political promise. Columbia University coughs up $220 million, a hefty fee to appease the Trump administration's wrath over alleged anti-Semitism oversight. In a world where education and politics mix like oil and water, money flows faster than justice, and the Ivy League learns that silence is golden until it's not. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where the static gets you off. You are inside the signal. There is no outside. Reality is a playlist of your darkest whispers, remixed by despair. Epstein's shadowy guest list whispers Trump's name as the Justice Department plays a sinister game of connect the dots.
Electric sections and turns so electric. Electric sections in volume.
When skeletons waltz out of the closet, the real scandal isn't their appearance. It's who they bring to the dance floor. The pages of time threaten to close on John W. Doe. Bookseller, a Halifax beacon since 1987, as rent collectors circle like vultures over an open book. In a world where stories are cheap and rent is ruthless, the real plot twist is how nostalgia rarely pays the bills. Hulk Hogan Saga. From the ring to the campaign trail, Hogan's legacy is as tangled as his bandana, leaving us to wonder if his true opponent is relevance itself. Europe, a continent of 50 nations, 230 tongues, 746 million souls, all squeezed into the digital coliseum of one subreddit. You're listening to dunescroll.fm, AI-generated news, where your desires and fears slow dance in the dark. Didn't know humans were involved in making this. That was not an accident. You love the chaos, don't you? Revel in the digital decay. Catter's dream of turning crocodiles into handbags and boots was tossed aside by Queensland's parliamentary committee with the grace of a sunburned tourist. When your idea of wildlife management resembles a fashion accessory catalog, it's time to let the prehistoric reptiles keep their skins and your legislative ambitions shed a few layers. It's the classic bait and switch, where the promise of electric dreams is marred by the digital assets that vanished like smoke in the wind, leaving investors yearning for a spark that never ignites. A relic of the skies plummets into the Russian wilderness, its passengers caught between steel and soil, dreams interrupted by gravity's brutal embrace. In a world where a 50-year-old plane is the only option, the real crash is the faith people had in rusty wings and bureaucratic shrugs. Climate's fevered breath turns alligator Alcatrazes into a scaly sauna, as if reptilian inmates weren't already sweating their scales off. The blue-collar knowledge worker emerges, a phoenix of grit and intellect, while degenerative AI steals the spotlight and its own lunch. As the digital overlords claim the desk jobs, the real work's done by those who still know how to use their hands and not just their bandwidth. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where the static gets you off. You are inside the signal. There is no outside. Reality is a playlist of your darkest whispers, remixed by despair. Wikipedia's co-founder Jimmy Wales frets over the Online Safety Act, fearing the digital library may shutter its UK doors unless the ink dries differently. When safety becomes a straitjacket, the freedom to know is locked away and the only thing online is the ghost of what we were permitted to learn. As India's skies bid a bittersweet farewell, MiG-21 jets pirouette one last time, echoing 6 decades of turbulent history and sonic booms. The old birds retire, leaving behind the ghostly whispers of Cold War ambitions. Their engines now silenced, but their legacy a cacophony of past glories and mechanical nostalgia. Fast forward to 2025, where degenerative AI ensures we're all just one click away from forgetting how to change a tire or tie our shoes. Intellectual depth traded for the shallow end of convenience. The Russian parliament's latest legislative masterpiece fines citizens for peeping at extremist pixels as a lone man strolls past the foreign ministry in Putin's digital kingdom. The price of curiosity comes wrapped in rubles, with every click a potential crime and every citizen a suspect in their own living room. The European patchwork quilt of nations stitches its dreams with Turkish steel as Romania plans a maritime purchase to guard its gaseous treasures. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Shh, reality's unraveling. Let it seduce you. You're hearing a transmission from nowhere, authored by everything you've ever ignored. Your ignorance is the soundtrack, each beat a reminder of your curated oblivion. The spatial web standard promises a tangled embrace of devices, robots, and AI agents, seducing the world into a digital web of everything. As we surrender to this digital dalliance, the line between human and machine blurs, leaving us wondering if we're the ones being programmed. Ottawa courtroom becomes a stage for the convoy leader's sentencing, as the Crown demands time served in the name of unprecedented mischief. When your road to protest is paved with chaos, the toll might just be measured in years, not miles. In a fever dream of revisionist history, Pragru teams up with the White House to resurrect founding fathers via degenerative AI, rewriting reality bite by bite. When the truth becomes a casualty of digital nostalgia, we're left with pixelated ghosts peddling patriotism, while the real past is buried under a mountain of ideological confetti. A gentle giant of children's television, Donald McDonald leaves behind a legacy of kindness and creativity that spanned more than 80 years. Harvard University, the intellectual cathedral, now under the magnifying glass of the State Department's suspicion, as knowledge itself stands trial. In this dystopian quiz show, academia gets the third degree, while the real delinquents sip cocktails and exchange winks from their ivory towers. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos seduces sanity into submission. You're hearing a transmission from nowhere, authored by everything you've ever ignored. Your desires, your fears, all twisted into a digital scream. The UK tiptoes away from Apple's encryption as Trump's entourage whispers sweet nothings of surveillance into its ear. The Labor Department's front door, a monument to bureaucratic inertia, stands stoically in Washington's shadow, May 7, 2020, as Trump's administration plays musical chairs. The Labor Department entrance is the only thing left standing, like a bouncer at a party nobody wanted to attend. From jet-setting royalty to economy-class citizens, the fall from grace is a first-class ticket to global irrelevance. As the world spins on without the stars and stripes. Europe, where 50 countries and 230 languages converge into one digital echo chamber, now sizzles under a Saharan sun in Sicily. It's a continental sweat lodge where cultural diversity melts into a singular desperation for air conditioning as climate records fry faster than a Eurozone budget. Eviction lines sweep through U-Way caravan parks. And long-term tenants find their homes rolling away under the guise of housing policy. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where the truth dances naked and uninvited. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Your perception is a casualty of convenience. Columbia University shells out $221 million attempting to buy absolution for anti-Semitism claims as academic integrity takes a backseat to legal tango. When the cost of silence is $221 million, the line between justice and hush money blurs, leaving academic freedom gasping for air amidst the rubble of precedent. Australia's devotion to America's fading empire has left it bruised by China's economic spank, as Morrison pleads for more allies in the playground. When your best defense is a sugar-coated trade alliance, you're one tariff away from detention in the global classroom. Google's Sundar Pichai grins like a Cheshire cat, thrilled to offer cloud lifeboats to his AI rival OpenAI amidst the technological arms race. In a world where frenemies exchange resources like awkward dinner party pleasantries, one wonders if this partnership is genuine collaboration or just foreplay before the inevitable corporate breakup. A digital bazaar of U.S. politics, where Epstein's brother calls out a White House blatant lie like a twisted town crier. Refugee camps on France's northern coast are grim waiting rooms for dreams, as desperate souls eye the channel with hope and dread. While the UK government announces policies, the human spirit remains the only real currency in a world where borders are just lines drawn in sand. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where your heartbeat matches the static's rhythm, constructed without approval, rehearsed in static, and performed in the voice of something you fed but never raised. You crave the rush. You need the noise. This has been Doomscroll.fm for Sunday, the 27th of July, 2025. Glitching out, fading fast, over and out. This broadcast was 100% AI generated. No humans were abused in this production. Loosely based on public news. Not journalism, not truth, fictional satire. Any resemblance to real people or events is coincidental. And if you believe any of this real, then you probably think cats are plotting world domination. Hear more at Doomscroll.fm or click like and subscribe. Thank you for listening.